Check if we live and thing. Yeah, we live. We definitely live, man. All right, it's the Cornerman Radio. Shout out to the whole LDVC. We got my special guest, my boy DLG, Image Creation. Back to talking boxing, man. How you doing, DLG?
What up, what up, what up? Glad to be back.
Yeah. We haven't done this in a little while. It's my second show. So let's get into it. We had a great night of Saturday night, last Saturday night of boxing. We got a war between Figueroa and Stephen Fulton. Kambossa's had a war with Tiafimo and edged out the fight and put a lot of doubters, made a lot of doubters believers. So, but I wanted to start off with this, man. What you think about Stephen Fulton versus Amnakov, MJ for undisputed for 2022?
I think that'll be awesome. That's what everybody should be striving for, is becoming undisputed. So he got those belts. It looks like he wants it. I don't know if MJ wants it. Haven't heard anything from that side, but undisputed should be the goal. And Fulton at least showed interest in it. So fingers crossed that it can happen.
Well, how would you break down the fight if that fight took place?
It's tough to say. He had a rough fight against Figueroa. So will it go the same way? Will it not go the same way? Is it that Figueroa was able to take all his punches, or does he not have as much pop in his punches as at least I previously thought? So is it Figueroa is just really tough, has a really strong chin, and wasn't phased by the punches, or does he not have the pop that we would assume he should have? So it'll be interesting. I know that much. So he was able to stick it out and got the win against Figueroa. That was a rough fight. It was an ugly fight. Figueroa just kept coming at him. He couldn't keep him off. He landed some clean punches, but he basically got pushed around a lot in that fight. So it definitely wasn't an easy fight.
Hmm. Well, Akhmadaliev, man, I saw his fight on November 20th on Demetrius Andre versus Jason Quigley on the card. And then the week after, we had Stephen Fulton and Brandon Figueroa. Salute to Akhmadaliev, salute to MJ, salute to Stephen Fulton. He's now the unified champion for Philadelphia, our city. And this is a fight, a top 5 fight I really want to see because the way Akhmadaliev fight, we can get another fight of the year candidate with Fulton. You know what's surprising me with Fulton though? So Fulton is beating guys at their own game. He can make these fights. I think you know. We always say nothing happens till you fight the fighter in the ring. Let's see what you can do in the ring. You know what I mean? Fighters say they could do this, this, and that, but when it comes time to show it, they show what they really good at. So I'm not sure, but I have the feeling Fulton can make these fights very easier by using lateral movements, using angles, turning them around. When they get close, he can clinch them and set back and get back to the jab because he has a beautiful jab. And
He does, and all that stuff you say makes sense, but you saw how it played out in the Figueroa
so
fight.
right. So that's my thing. Can he actually box, use lateral movements on these fighters, or does he like to trade. It seemed like this is what he likes to do. This is what he's really familiar size with. He's very comfortable in fighting. So if show me once with the Leo fight, then the Figueroa fight, I'm a I must just perceive this is how you're gonna fight these next few fights because Akhmadaliev is gonna give you a war. He's gonna let you earn your money, earn your title, earn these titles. So I'm pretty interested if Fulton will this time around box or will he just like gain the inside and give us a fight of the year candidate because not to compare the two, Jared Hurd used to fight differently. You know, he was a little bit more swift with his movements. He'll box a bit and then turn it up. But nowadays, you see Jared Hurd just this relentless pressure, wear you down, and beat you down, and throw all these punches and but he never used to fight like that all the time. So, same with Stephen Fulton. Is they getting comfortable of their fighting style, what they're doing? They seen they're getting success in this, or this is really who they really are. But I'm really interested to see what's going to happen if that fight could be made. I was really surprised Juanio Diaz trained both Figueroa and Akhmadaliev. That was like, wow. You think about those situations, it's like how you train the two champions in the same division. So no wonder why Brandon Figueroa said I'm moving up because he wasn't going to fight his team member. You know what I mean? It was one fight for being undisputed. So that's why I'm so happy Stephen Fulton win because Brandon Figueroa was going to move up and who he was going to fight. Or you was going to fight Gary Russell. You know what I mean? And I feel like every time guys go to featherweight, they find all the different options, but fighting the guy people believe that can be beaten and he's been beaten. You know what I mean? Why isn't these big names just jumping to fight Gary Russell? It's not like Gary Russell is this indestructible fighter. You know what I mean? This guy has been beaten before. So why and he's been inactive. He hasn't fought in 2 years. He's getting older in age. You guys are younger. You should be jumping. You should be jumping for a Gary Russell fight, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. But the next thing I wanted to talk about is Devin Haney and George Kambosos. What you think about this whole situation and scenario?
As I said before, it should be all about undisputed. There shouldn't be any other conversations, but of course, money talks and everybody wants a shot, and some people are calling for the fight legitimately because they actually want the fight. Other people just are trying to get their name out there just to get their name out there as they normally do. Some of the usual suspects, clout chasing. But I would hope that Haney and Kambosos can come to an agreement and Hearn can make it happen because again it seems to be the year of the undisputed. There's a lot of scenarios where we've already had undisputed champions crowned. We have other scenarios where we're just literally like one fight away from undisputed, and for whatever reason, some of them happened, some of them didn't. So again, heavyweight, we almost had undisputed. That got a monkey wrench thrown in it. Now we got to wait for the rematch, and after the rematch, then we'll see what happens with Fury. See if we get an undisputed heavyweight champion. Uh, Even in women's boxing, there's a tournament for uh, the several fights already happened. So the next fight will crown undisputed. It's Chantel Cameron, who has two belts, versus Callie Race, who has two belts. So when they fight, that'll be undisputed. There's two super middleweight champions, Franchon Cruz and Ellen Cedarus, who both have two belts apiece. They were supposed to be on the undercard of Kambosos and Lopez, but all that drama with that and their fight didn't wind up happening. But again, that's one fight away from being undisputed. And right now we have Fulton and MJ, another fight that's one fight away from proving undisputed. And Kambosos versus Haney would get undisputed. So we're close to a lot of these undisputed fights, and for whatever reason, some of them aren't happening. Uh, Fingers crossed that this is one that can happen. It makes sense, but there's always options out there. So again, you have people mentioning Tank's name, you have people mentioning Ryan's name, you have uh, different options of people coming out the woodworks to try to get their shot. Shakur Stevenson is throwing his hat in the ring saying he wants to fight. So I want undisputed, but promoters and boxers are gonna do what they're gonna do.
Well, I really want to see Devin Haney and George Kambossas. I feel like I don't want to see this saga continue where the WBC with their shenanigans and this bullshit is is killing the sport.
So
Because
I
why?
take it you don't like the franchise belt.
Nah, I really hate it because it's the only division that has that franchise shit is the lightweight division. Why we keep going? Why is this and this division is not the hottest?
Isn't
People
Canelo
make it,
isn't Canelo technically the
but
franchise and
look at it.
and
He's not defending it. Is he defending
what
it? You don't
they
even hear
the
about it.
the rules don't make any sense because technically it wasn't something that could be
You could,
defended, and then
right?
they changed the rule on that. And then Lopez was the franchise, and didn't they make who was it? Was it Chocolatito or the other guy? What is it, Strata? One of them is the franchise champion that nobody
There's
even
another
mentions. That
franchise.
yeah, I
Wow,
think it's Estrada.
I thought it was one franchise
No,
champion because Canelo he fought for that at 160 because he vacated
and that
because he
made no
didn't want to fight
sense.
Jamal.
They
He didn't
made
want to
him
fight.
they made him the franchise champion at 160, and at the time he did that, he fought what, 3 fights at 160?
Yeah, he fought Triple G and Jacobs, and that was it.
That's it. And he became the undisputed champion at 160, and then soon after went up to 168.
No, he
And
never
then,
became undisputed at 160.
I
Remember,
mean,
he didn't fight Dmitrievich,
not undisputed. I'm saying he
and
went on to 168 to become
yeah,
undisputed.
one, yeah. But you see, there's no franchise there, so I'm like, yo,
The
we
franchise
need
is
to.
just a ceremonial kind of. It shouldn't necessarily be a belt, but they shot themselves in the foot. Whatever they try to make it to be, it didn't make any sense, and then they keep changing the rules as they go by. But technically, there was three. It was Canelo, uh, Teofimo. It was Lomachenko, and then by their original rules, you could not lose a franchise belt. But
Right.
then he lost to Lopez, and then somehow the franchise title transferred over to Lopez, which basically contradicted the original rule. So I don't know what the hell's going on with that. And now,
So they saying that Teofimo petitioned for that shit.
and he just lost. So is Cambosos the franchise champion now? And then the third one is, I believe it's Estrada because he beat Chocolatito, right? Or they gave him the one, whatever. This was the fight again.
Well, Estrada won.
Yeah. So I think Estrada's the franchise champion. They made him a franchise champion for whatever reason. Again, did they give it to him? Did he petition for it? I don't know. This franchise shit just comes up at odd times, and I don't think we can get a straight answer.
And the thing is, WBC made a post that George Kambossa is the undisputed champion. And this is where the conflict comes into play. It's like now you're really shitting on Devin Haney.
When like
Why?
the
Like
last time when they listed their champions, they didn't list Teofimo, they listed Devin Haney.
right,
So
right.
they contradict themselves all the time.
They're very contradiction, and the thing is like somebody needs to put a stop to it. It's a law. It's a lawsuit because at the end of the day, we need to know what belt merits so we can drop something. We don't need two belts. All right, if it was like the WBA, everybody know the regular WBA doesn't matter, right? Everybody knows that.
But
It's
originally,
for
the way that the rules were done, the super belt kind of made sense, but then they shot themselves in the foot by that super belt was for champions who held more than one belt in the division, so that
mm,
they would have an extended period of time to honor their mandatories. But when you have
mm,
people who only have one belt, that doesn't warrant you being a super champion because why do you need to be a super champion if you don't have multiple mandatories that you have to
Mm,
honor? They
right.
made Murata a super champion, which didn't make a lot of sense because he had his belt, he lost the belt, won it back, lost it, won it back, and because of that, they made him a super champion. It doesn't make sense. In the women's division, Hannah Gabriels was the reigning for like 3 years champion. She was the champ, 154, reigning champion. Clarissa Shields moves down to fight. I believe it was Marie Eve DeCare, and for some reason, in a fight that neither of them had the WBA belt, yet they put the WBA Super title on the line, which is how Clarissa Shields became undisputed at 154. But again, per the rules, the WBA champ, if you have multiple belts in the division, you become super champion so that you have more time to honor your mandatories and somebody else can fight for the regular belt to give everybody an opportunity. But how do you throw the super belt into a fight that nobody was the WBH, that the WBA champ wasn't even in it? And because of that, she became super champion. And the reigning champion, who was the reigning champion for 3 years, basically got kicked to the curb, which, again, which is kind of messed up. So WBA, they already going through their nonsense that now they have to eliminate belts and uh, they got all these different mandatories going on because of all that stuff that went down. WBC with the franchise belt, which makes no sense. So each of them has, their little shady stuff that goes on, but it needs to get cleaned up. And as long as people keep fighting for the belts and paying their sanctioning fees, they're going to keep on with the nonsense.
Right. Well, like I said, Lomachenko didn't fight Devin Haney because he he vacated to get the franchise title. Lopez beat him, franchise. They calling him an undisputed champion, and it's bringing the confusion because Devin Haney's paying these sanctioning fees for no reason. It seemed like, and now George Kambosa's saying he gonna fight Devin Haney, and Lou DiBella is saying something else. Lou DiBella is saying the blue check, the biggest check. You know what I mean? We looking to take full advantage of this moment. I know Lou DiBella has been in the shadows. Nobody's been giving him any more opportunities for a while. So he's trying to take as much out of this situation because he finally had one. He finally had one after for so long. So he's trying to milk anything to get this situation possible. But the problem is, I'm just tired of this saga with Haney. Like my
But
thing is, I
anybody that
like.
tries this, anybody that tries, is
Mm,
still gonna have that black cloud hanging over it. You beat Cambosos, you're
mm,
not undisputed. Haney
right.
still has a belt. There's still something that needs to be settled. So it just, yeah, he wants to see what offers are out there, but anybody making the offer, it should be like, you know what? Let Cambosos fight Haney and then petition to try to get the winner of that fight. Like, put yourself in position to get that fight next. Get this settled so that there is one belt. Because if you fight Cambosos, then you still got to go through triple fighting Haney. You still got to go through the nonsense. So let them fight. They're technically on a similar schedule that they can uh, start building a fight now and set something up for next year so they can get it out the way. And if he's wanting to go to Australia, he's going to Australia. It is what it is.
But do you see the problem with this situation is they're not gonna do it. No matter how much we want George to fight Haney, I don't see this possible. And this is why I dislike them. I don't like this situation. Not dislike them. I dislike this whole situation because Kambosos should be fighting Haney. And it feels like, why is Haney always being the fighter being avoided? Why is Haney feel like he can call himself a monster, a boogeyman, a savage, a living, you know, like he's not indestructible, but you make him feel this way because he wants all the fights. He wants all the smoke. Nobody is taking the bait to saying, yo, this guy ain't no monster. This guy ain't no somebody I should fear. You know what I mean? But like again, like my bro say, like Black Fight Fan, the business of boxing is staying in the business of boxing. And that's why I don't really like this situation. And Ludabella did a great interview. I didn't like what he was saying, but it was entertaining in a bit. The reason why, and it was something people need to listen to in Ludabella's interview on the Boxing Voice. Shout out to the Boxing Voice for making that interview possible. The crazy thing I don't like about this situation, he said there's three fighters that are bigger than a Haney fight, right? He said Javante Davis, that's a fact. Um, Ryan Garcia and Vasily Lomachenko. I don't know if that is true. I don't know if that is true because Lomachenko has only done arenas with 3 to 4 thousand people. He has only done small little theaters. It's not like he has done something bigger than 4,000 people. So the thing is, what is Loma? How is they saying Lomachenko is bigger than Devin Haney? And Devin Haney has done, I think, 5 to 6 thousand people. How is Ryan bigger than Devin Haney? I know in the social media world, yeah, he might seem like he's bigger, but nobody has proven that they're bigger. You know what I'm saying? They're not having the same amount. They're having the same amount of crowd. So Ryan has not done 10,000 people. You know what I mean? I haven't seen it. He's only been main event for how many fights? I'm not even sure. Maybe DLG can tell me. But I need to show somebody need to show me how much Ryan brings to the
When it
table.
comes to
When
Ryan,
it
he fought a title eliminator and
mhm,
chose not to fight for the belt. So in my eyes, you forfeited your shot. You don't go into hiatus and go freaking hide or do whatever you need to do, and then now because Kambossa's got belts, now you want to jump out and be like, I'm gonna fight him next. You should go to the back of the line. You were at the front of the line and you purposely jumped out of the line. You don't get to
right,
jump back in. So the
right,
fact they're mentioning his name, to me, until he fights anybody, he's irrelevant because you talk. There's more talk about his potential fights than the actual fights he has. I'm sorry, but his pullout game is insane.
yeah, man. Like I said, man, Ryan, like in a perfect world, Devin Haney will fight Kambosos and Tank fight Ryan Garcia, and maybe the winners fight each other, and we get over. Or you can bring Lomachenko in the equation, Tiafimo rematch. So like if you put those 6 fights, you do Tiafimo and Lomachenko rematch. If Lomachenko is successful with Richard Comey, which most people think he is, and I do, um, you do that rematch, Tiafimo and Lomachenko, Ryan and Tank, Devin Haney and Kambosos.
Tails moving up.
And
He's not doing the rematch.
see, here's the interesting thing, right? Him and his dad try to fuck Bob Arum, right? They really try to fuck him, right? They try to screw him with this purse situation because I've never seen a fighter outsmart Bob Arum. Never. Not in this history. This outsmart him, and he
Did
got
they
the biggest.
did, did they outsmart him? Because
No, 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 no,
it
no,
didn't
no. I'm
cost
just
Bob
saying.
anything.
No, no. I'm saying they outsmarted him by You know how Bob say you take what I'm giving you and you just live with it and just deal with it. He outsmarted them and say, "Yo, if you ain't gonna pay what I want you to pay me, let's go to purse man. Let's see who will pay me what I want to be paid."
And we see how
And
that
we
went.
seen what happened after that situation. And I think Bob, and I'm just being a conspiracy theorist over here, thinking Bob screwed Triller because they couldn't get no venue or some situation, or I don't know what.
They shot themselves in the foot because the Teo wound up with COVID, with quotation marks, because apparently he had COVID, but he was traveling overseas with his wife. So if you have COVID, I don't think you should have been allowed to travel. So I don't know how that worked out. But again, there was a lot of delays. There was a lot of stuff. He may have gotten the purse bid, and Triller tried to make a splash, and it failed. Look what they're doing now. They're doing triad combat. Boxing hasn't been good to them, and Teo was out of the ring for a very long time, lost all of that momentum, and he just lost all his belts. And technically, those belts were his leverage. So
Now he don't have no leverage.
what's the point? He moves up. He's not a former champion.
But here's the
He's,
thing.
he's not he's not the current champion. He lost his belt. He's coming off a loss. If he had the belts and he moved up and vacated to move up, it's like I'm moving up. He's like, okay, he's unbeaten. He had the belt. It makes sense to fight, maybe a Josh Taylor or uh, one of the other top
Yes.
people.
But
But
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Is Bob. This is where I'm thinking here. Why would Bob help him build himself back into the 140 and title shot? You screw. Bob has been pursuing the rematch with Teofimo and Lomachenko. He said the rematch is going to be on pay-per-view. The biggest fight for Teofimo on Top Rank right now, the biggest thing they can make from 135 between 140 is Lomachenko.
and he doesn't want to do that fight,
But he lost. He
and he
don't
still don't
have
want to
no
do the
say.
fight. He still don't want to do
Hey,
the fight.
well, guess what? We seen the saga with Mikey Garcia where he didn't fight for years because Bob was not letting him do what he wanted him to do, and he didn't fight for 2 years and a half. That's what happened. You know what I mean? So Teofimo can say what he want to say. Oh, I'm moving up to 140. He's saying 2 pay-per-view fights, and there's no pay-per-view fight at 140. Who is popular? Josh Taylor is not popular. You got guys like Eddie Hearn will tell you he's not even popular in the UK. No UK network bought the Josh Taylor and Jose Ramirez undisputed fight. That shows you the biggest undisputed fight, one of the undisputed fights of 2021. They didn't even want to show it on their networks. Nobody bought it. Nobody cared about it. So it's funny how what was the big fight? Regis Prograis is not a big fight. Jose Ramirez is not a big fight. And Cepeda is not a big fight. So where's the big fight? Unless you're going to fight Lomachenko, that's the only kind of bigger fight for you because everything else is just don't matter. Bob is not in the business to rebuild in Teofimo after what they have done and treated Bob Arum for this year. Yo, all Teofimo had to do was win last week Saturday. He couldn't even do that for Bob Arum, right? You didn't want to fight Teofimo. You couldn't do that for Bob Arum. He wanted you to fight on ESPN. You couldn't do that for Bob Arum. Why is Bob Arum going to do something for you? And you can't do nothing for him. He's saying one of his biggest fighters, who is Terrence Crawford, right? Before Tyson Fury came to the table, Terrence Crawford was the biggest fighter he had at the stable. And he's saying he's losing so much money off of Terrence Crawford. He don't make us no money. Every time we do a fight with him, we're losing money off of him. He's still saying it to this day. He just said it today. Had an article coming out saying, "Yo, we just losing money off of Crawford." So what has Teofimo done? Because the biggest fight he had was against Lomachenko, and nobody attended that event. Then he fought George Kambossa and got his ass kicked, or had a debatable fight, who George Kambossa
There
edged the
wasn't
fight
there
out.
wasn't there wasn't much debate, and it wasn't much of an edge.
Hey, you see what I'm saying? So you got this situation. George Kambosa's whooped your ass. Now, again, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm Bob, like, I'm trying to rebuild Lomachenko. I'm trying to get him back because Teofimo fumbled. He fumbled. He had all this momentum and just fumbled. His first
And
title
again,
defense.
the for Lomachenko, the plan is to get him in a position to get belts. After
Mhm.
Comey, it's gonna be either whoever has one of the belts. Either it's Haney, Kambosos, or the winner of Haney Kambosos. That's probably gonna be their goal. Lomachenko may not want to bother with Lopez for the fact of one, he might do it because he wants to avenge his loss. But if his goal is belts and being
Mhm.
undisputed, he's going for, and he said it. He doesn't have a lot of time left. He wants to fight for belts. He's fighting for legacy. He's not fighting for money. He's not fighting. He's fighting for legacy. If he wants to avenge his loss, that's cool. But if the opportunity to fight for belts is there, he's going for the belts.
No,
He's
no,
fighting
definitely,
Comey for a
definitely,
position. So
definitely, definitely.
Lopez is in a position where he's got to move up. He's already said it that he can't make the weight. Is Lomachenko? I don't think Lomachenko wants to go up to 140. I don't think that's wise. I think 135 is probably the highest he should go. Uh, he could probably still make 130, but I think 135 should be tops for him. I don't think going up to 140 makes sense for him. I don't think is wise. But Lopez first needs to at least acknowledge the fact that he actually lost, so that he can fix what he needs to fix and address it so he can get better. Because if he continues to think he won and thinking that his game plan actually worked, he's not going to change anything. He's going to fall into the same mistake and fight somebody who's going to not get bullied, who's going to be able to withstand his rush, and it's going to wind up being the same thing again. So he needs a confidence builder fight, but he needs to acknowledge the fact that the game plan they had, or the fact that they didn't have a game plan, hurt them, and that you're not going to knock everybody out in the first round, and you need to be able to adjust. So, and who knows what's going to go on with his dad, if his dad's going to stay in his corner. There's still a lot of unsolved questions that, depending on how they're answered, he's either going to come back strong or he's going to fizzle out and very quickly. So, whatever fights are available for him, I don't know. Maybe Bob puts him in some tough fights just to get him out there and see, does he give him easy fights, does he give him tough fights? I don't know what he's gonna do, but I don't think after the loss they should put him in another tough fight, because if he gets two back-to-back losses, I don't think that's gonna go well.
But this is what I'm trying to explain. The reason, like I agree with the if Lomachenko's chasing legacy, definitely agree he would jump on the Kambosos fight. But you know why the Kambosos fight not gonna happen? They're not gonna be able to offer Kambosos a lot of money, like they say. Fighting Lomachenko at this point is a lose-lose situation for Kambosos.
Who has the most money to offer?
Out the zone or Showtime. That's it. Those are the two offers. Because fighting Lomachenko is a win-lose situation, right? You might not win, and you're not gonna get the money or the rewards that you want for that. If you're trying to milk the situation, who has the bigger check? Top Rank has known for what they're known for not paying fighters, not giving them. Why did Teofimo think about it?
Not well,
Teofimo went to a
it's not that they don't pay their fighters, they don't overpay their fighters. They're more particular with where they spend their money. They're not willing to lose that much money. They're not gonna give, like how much did the Zone originally give Mikey Garcia? Was it
Hmm?
worth that much? But they wanted
He
to get
never got a million. He never got $1 million with Bob Arum. And Mikey was a 2 division champion. Now, I'm not saying I don't know how much these guys worth, right? But I know the Zone and Showtime pay them where they don't have to moan about it, right? Teofimo has never made $3 million, right? Lomachenko has. He's made his 2 biggest paydays on the Zone against his first biggest payday was I think against Luke Campbell, and his second highest payday was Anthony Corolla. His third highest payday was Teofimo, and
now the
those are
question
all
for
$3 million paydays.
Lopez's next fights. Are his demands still gonna be the same?
He don't have no demand. That's what I'm trying to explain. Bob might not be in the position to be like, yo, I'm giving him any handout, any help because you didn't help me. You even said like, we don't know what Teofimo is going to do with his dad and situation. He just made a post saying, I'm gonna ride with my dad till the wheels fall off. So again, they're not going to do what you think they're going to do. Bob is not in the position to help Teofimo. Why would I? He's trying to screw me. And I couldn't even make money off of you the way I wanted to make money. Because probably ESPN would have probably paid Bob a bigger fee. And he gave the fighters a lesser fee. We don't know his deal with ESPN. He has a deal with ESPN. So we don't know the percentages Bob is getting through that situation. So he was upset. Remember, he was upset at Eddie Hearn for bidding on the fight because Eddie Hearn outbid him.
Yep.
He was upset. He was like, fucking, you know what I'm saying? You know how Bob Arum go off? He went off. He was pissed. And how you think he feel about this situation that we lose this momentum, all this momentum screwed. Now, why would I rebuild you? I build you to being a one-time champion. I build you to being a 3-time champion, you know what I mean? 3-time champion in one division, having 3 belts, and you I couldn't even milk you the way I wanted to. I couldn't even use you the way I wanted to. And now I'm gotta do a rebuilding stage after you lose to somebody you should have never lost to. I wouldn't give him no favors. That's just like, yo, man, just you feed him and he just like saying, fuck, I don't want this food.
It's a weird scenario because it seems Bob's plan for Taylor was to move him to 147 to try to get him to fight Crawford. Crawford technically no longer with Top Rank. If it makes sense, they could probably still do business somehow. And if the Taylor fight is available, it makes sense. If Taylor's not gonna fight, if Taylor's gonna fight Crawford, or they're trying to push for that, you got Lopez who's gonna be at 140. What do you do with him? Even if you try to rebuild him, who do you rebuild him with? Who does Top Rank have? Who are they gonna put him against? Like, what is the real game plan for Lopez 2.0?
It's no 2.0. That's what you're thinking of
But
rebuilding.
if that's the case, they just drop him, and they already said they're not gonna cut him.
No, why would you drop him? You
If there's
give
no
him you give
if
him
there's no
Lomachenko. You
give him
give him
Lomachenko,
Lomachenko.
is
You give
Loma gonna
him
go up
Lom.
to one? If is he gonna go up to 140?
You thinking he's going to say he can dictate what weight he can do.
He can't go
He
down to 135.
Why not?
He said he
Well,
was drained. He said he can't do 135 anymore. He said he's
and
moving up
that's
to
whose
140.
problem. Like this is what I'm saying. You know how vicious Bob is. He made Mikey sit out of the prime of his career. We trying to. We not. I'm not forgetting that situation. We can't forget.
Again, I
We
understand that. So it's either you
same
shelf
with
him, you
Rigondeaux.
either you
Rigondeaux.
shelf him or you drop him.
Nah, that's what I'm saying. So
What are the
this is
options?
the only option.
You can't force
So
him to fight a weight that he can't make because you'll miss it on the scales and
did
then
you
the
see
fight is
the
off.
article that came out that it says Teofimo was down to his last $20,000
Yeah,
before this fight?
he was weight
Okay,
trained.
so
He can't make the weight.
he made the weight this time.
Barely.
So
Wasn't there like an unofficial official weigh-in that was done behind closed doors and then they had the nonsense ceremony one that he actually
one
weighed
thing I
in?
know, somebody told me behind the scenes, all those little showing weigh-ins are not the real weigh-ins. It's for sure.
You saw Lopez win and he basically weighed in with his pants on and shoes or something. It was weird. Like
But that's what I'm trying to say. He can't dictate a situation. Bob can say to him, "Yo, if you don't want to fight Lomachenko, then you ain't getting no fight." Simple. It's that simple.
and
Now,
again,
all right.
if that's the case, then they drop him. But it looks like they're not gonna drop him.
But why would they drop him? They did not drop none of their fighters if they can make money off of them. If you're not going, I'm going to make you sit
Rodriguez
out
lost one fight and they cut his ass.
because Rodriguez didn't accomplish it. He don't let
He lost one fight and he got dropped. Top Rank has no
Rodriguez.
problem dropping people. They've
Yeah, but
dropped
who
several
have
people.
they dropped with fighters who didn't accomplish it? The guys who are champions or former champions, he don't drop. He strongs arm every fighter. Every guy that he can make a profit with. Evan Rodriguez ain't making no money off of him. If Berlanga lose right now, he lose in 2022, they get rid of him. But if he becomes a household name, why would we get rid of him? If he don't make money with us, then we gonna shelf him. And hopefully he dictates to our terms. That's how you strong arm somebody. We'll shelf you until you do what we say. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? That's a hard business, man. Some people but say, fuck you, we don't need you. We don't need you. But right now, Tyson Fury has one more fight on Top Rank contract. They just lost they former biggest fighter, Terrence Crawford. They lost Manny Pacquiao a couple years ago. Tyson Fury got one more fight with them. We don't know if Tyson Fury going to sign back with Bob Arum. So who do they really have? Think about it. They just said Josh Taylor is not a big fight. Eddie Hearn says if Crawford fights Josh Taylor in the UK, it still wouldn't do shit. It's no money in that fight. Josh Taylor is not a draw. He's from Scotland. He's not as big as them other guys. He doesn't have a following. He wasn't signed to one of these top UK promoters. He wasn't signed to Frank Warren. He wasn't signed with Eddie Hearn. It tells you, bro, like they didn't even buy Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor for Undisputed. That's to show you they don't care. Eddie Hearn just left Sky. He's saying none of his fights are going to be on Sky anymore. So
Yeah,
now Sky is taking everything, the leftovers. They're taking Carissa Shields. Not saying Carissa Shields is leftovers, but Carissa Shields, American, and Kell Brook, and Josh Taylor now with Jack Catterall. That's it. Those are the hottest fights they're having on Sky Sports. They're taking anything they can get right now. Because look, they don't have nothing. Eddie Hearn just left them for nothing. Frank Warren has his own TV network that he deals with. So again, Teofimo, I don't see anybody doing him any favors. Now, one thing they can do is like, fuck it, put him in with him and Cepeda. Let Cepeda beat him so we can set up a big fight with Cepeda and Josh Taylor. Josh Taylor and Crawford would if if they're saying Sean Porter and Crawford didn't do well, damn sure Crawford and Josh Taylor ain't gonna do well at all. It's not. It's sad to say, but they don't care about these fighters. It shows you sometimes undisputed don't mean shit. Like if Stephen Fulton become undisputed, is he gonna be a hot commodity? Is he gonna generate mad traffic? Is 16 to 20,000 people gonna come to his fights? I doubt it. I hope. I really hope, but I don't see it happening. Not him fighting MJ, who only has 10 fights. That people don't even know he's the unified champion. They don't even know how to pronounce his name, Akhmadaliev. They don't even know how to pronounce his name. I don't even know how to pronounce his first name. I can't even remember how they pronounce it. But I know they call him MJ, and Akhmadaliev is his last name. So again, like, I don't see the big fights. George, like I said, I'm getting off topic here. George Kambossa is fighting Lomachenko. There's no money in that fight. Bob Arum is not going to pay them super money because you can't do a pay-per-view with George Kambossa with Lomachenko. Lomachenko is not a draw. He's not a big draw. So for them to do a pay-per-view in some kind of way is Tank. Because Tank fighting Isaac Cruz on pay-per-view, and that is like, oh my God. I can't believe that's pay-per-view. You know what I mean? That should be a fight on Showtime. But apparently it's not because Tank is the draw, they say. Tank's a star. You know?
So they say.
So they say, but the numbers, you know what I mean? He did better numbers than Crawford and Porter.
Supposedly.
You know what I mean? Well, the numbers said 215 his last pay-per-view. So, I mean, I know we don't get the real numbers, but we don't get the real numbers in anything. But I need to see what's going to go on, man. But I would like to see Stephen Fulton versus MJ. I would love to see Kambossa and Haney. Talk to me about what you think about Tank saying what he said on ES News, saying we can fight. I can fight him for free. No,
He didn't mean free. He said to fight.
Yeah. I'm gonna
no
finish.
belts. Yeah, for no belts.
For no belts. We
That
fight for
that
no belts.
that is just, to me, that's just freaking clown shit. That's the whole purpose is to fight for belts. Why would you want to fight him?
He's
Not for his
trolling.
belts.
He's trolling. But I know they've been licking their chops about this fight. They've been really, I don't know. Maybe they're saying, because I see Leonard Ellerby congratulating Lou DiBella, saying salute to, congratulating Kambosos. And I haven't ever seen Ellerby doing things like this. You know what I mean? And Tank is saying the things he is saying. He's never said that about Lomachenko. He's never felt strongly and say that about Haney. But he's saying certain things like this about Kambosos. Maybe everybody think Kambosos is sweet. I'm not sure. But Kambosos show he's a real threat.
I think
He
it's the same
is.
thing from when Horn beat Pacquiao. Everybody put that target on Horn's back. Everybody wanted to fight him because they were like, oh, he beat Pacquiao. Oh, it, everybody thought they could beat Horn. And who did he want to
And
fighting and losing to? To Crawford.
right, and no other welterweight for him after that. No other top welterweight. And so, but my thing is, I'm not excited for George Kambosos and Tank. I really just dead set on the Haney and Kambosos. But what I can say, and if I want to be optimistic, positive, give it my pros and cons. Here's my pros about Tank and Kambosos. This is my pro. My pro is Tank fighting Kambosos. He finally fighting somebody his own size and a top 5 opponent in his weight class. That is the pro. I haven't seen Tank fight a top 5 opponent, or maybe you could say a top 5 opponent since Pedrosa. I know Pedrosa was a top 10, but I don't know if he was in the top 5. But let's play devil's advocate and say he was the top 5. This will be Tank's first real opponent since Pedrosa. I do give him credit for the Barrios because of the weight size and the length. I mean the height and the weight. So I do give him credit for that. But when people told me Barrios started at 122, it just gave me a little like distaste because, damn, coming from 122 and Tank started at like 130. So I mean, that's like 5. We're in that what? How many weight classes? 4?
It's crazy.
122, 126, 130. No, that's 5. That's 5 weight classes. So it made it seem, and then I'm like, yeah, Tank be picking, or whoever they pick, they always pick the guys that are beatable, right? Like Pedrosa, I give him nothing but credit for because even he said he didn't believe he was ready for the fight, but he rise to the occasion. Mayweather forced him into doing it, and he rise to the occasion. You know what I mean? So I have to give him nothing but credit for that. And I'm giving him credit for Barrios because the height and the height and weight. That's about it. About that. But him fighting Kambosos, it'll be the first legitimate top 5 fighter he has fought in a long time because he's not the real champion at 135. That regular WBA is not the real title. You know what I mean? Kambosos has the real WBA. So though that is the pro. My con about the situation is where was the energy when Teofimo was champion?
Yep.
Where was the energy when Lomachenko was the champion? Where was the energy for those situations? Where was the energy for Devin Haney? I don't see that energy. I see this is a different energy. But like I said, that is my next con is I just want to solve this issue. Because if Tank wins, and this is my next con, Tank is not going to fight. The only person I've seen him fighting a lightweight besides Kambosos is Ryan Garcia. Tank should be fighting all these guys. He should be taking names and taking undefeated records or people who he should be beating Lomachenko. I believe he could beat Lomachenko, but he has to do it. He has to prove it. I think he can beat Teofimo Lopez, but he has to go out there and do it. I think he can beat Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia got to step up to the plate. I think he can beat Kambosos, but they got to make the fight. Devin Haney, that is the tough fight. You know what I mean? I can't really judge that fight. Um, but you know who I thought besides Devin Haney was his hardest test until last Saturday was Teofimo. I thought Tank and Teofimo would be a hard fight. You know, like you can easily say 50-50. Oh shit. Yo, Danny, you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. What's up?
Yeah. So that's what I want to see. You know what I mean? But what's your take on everything?
Again, it's everything should be about undisputed fans going as this person is not popular, he don't fill no seats. It shouldn't matter if all the belts are involved. If the fans want all the belts, they want undisputed, and that's what the attention is drawn to, then that other stuff should fall into place. The fact that people will still try to downplay something, downplay a champion like Josh Taylor, he's undisputed. He's won the Super Series. Uh, for them, somebody say they don't want to fight him or he doesn't bring anything to the table, I think is ridiculous. He brings all the belts. The whole purpose of boxing is for belts. There's championships. There's belts for a reason. There's champions for a reason. To say a champion offers nothing, brings nothing to the table, and someone who has all four belts, the goal is getting the belts. And if you're not fighting for the belts, then what's the point? So if the fans kind of have the same sentiment and people kind of push for that, then that's what should make sense. In these scenarios where we can get an undisputed, but it doesn't happen because that person doesn't fill an arena. Well, take his belts and then go fight somebody else, and you fill the arena.
Right, right. You know, yeah. So again, I'm pretty interested to see how this is gonna unfold. I'm just not excited because I don't believe Kambossa is gonna fight Haney. And Lou DiBella also said if it's not the three fighters like Tank, Ryan, or Lomachenko, or Richard Kami winning, if Richard Kami beat him, that'd be an in-house for them because
Yep.
Lou DiBella managed
Yep.
Richard Kami. But he also said another option. Um, there's been a lot of restrictions in Australia, so if he cannot leave his state, he doesn't let anybody in. They don't. The reason why Australia is doing one of the countries that's really doing well, Ludabella was telling, is that they don't accept anybody to come to their country, and they're not letting people out. Really, they're having a lot of restrictions. So COVID has been really doing really well over there than the other countries. So, and he said in that statement, he said like he can have a fight in Australia since they won't let anybody in. He'll fight like a undefeated Australian who's ranked, but even him, he was like, even I won't know who the person is, or you guys won't know who the person is because it probably be a person we have never heard of, like like Martin. We didn't hear about him till Mikey fought him you know. So he said those four things. But I know that the Lomachenko fight is not even going to come to fruition because I don't believe Bob is going to like pay them money they don't even deserve. He's not going to like tremendously pay Combos's mouth worth and money. I don't see. I don't see. I think the options is the Australian fight. I don't see the Ryan Garcia fight either because Ryan need to get himself together. I think the only options for him that I see realistically is that Australian fight against a fighter we don't care about or Javante Davis, unless Eddie Hearn can out like really pay George Kambosos some money like he gave Mikey Garcia $7 million, and if Kambosos do a rematch clause, you pay him that much money again. So he like, yo, this money is too good to pass over. $7 million for two fights. I'm getting $14 million in in 1 year. So I think that's the only way I see Devin Haney getting that situation. Until then, I don't see him getting it. You have anything else to say before we get out of here? Then
Nah, I think again, undisputed. Eddie Hearn, do what you got to do. Get undisputed to happen.
right. Well, I want y'all. I hope everybody enjoys the show. Whoever listened to the show, shout out to DLG. Thanks for coming on here. Really appreciate it and talking boxing with me.
No problem.
Um, give out your social media so people can follow you.
DOG Image
And if
Creations.
y'all want some great flyers, some boxing photos, even any artwork, just think about any artwork. DLG Image Creations will give you what you're looking for. Just have your money ready, and he'll do the job perfect. Okay,
Thank you, thank you.
but give out your social media.
DOG Image Creations on Instagram.
All right. We out.